Hi everybody, it's Rebecca, Virginia, and I hope that you're in the Halloween spirit because today I have 2 Gothic Halloween DIYs to share with you. But don't worry, if you're someone who scares easily, I also have one super cute ghost DIY for you. The first DIY I'm going to share with you is this bone powder jar, which I actually made from an old pickle jar. Here are all the supplies you'll need to complete this project. So when I said this was an easy DIY, I definitely was not lying. I think this might have been the fastest and easiest DIY I have ever done. All I did was take an old pickle jar, and then I took a skull and I painted that completely matte black, and I also painted the lid of the pickle jar black. Next up, I just hot glued the skull onto the top of the pickle jar. Now I'm taking some white paint and painting on the inside of the jar. I played around at first with painting the outside, but the paint was chipping off, and painting the inside was just a lot easier. Didn't have to worry about any chipping, and yeah, it was just easier. So that's what I decided to do. I'm painting the inside of the jar, not doing anything opaque because I want the little fake tea light that we're going to put in to be able to shine through. So just kind of messily paint on the inside. Lastly, I am screwing the lid with the skull back on, and I have these really awesome printables that I will link below in the video description. This is the one that says bone powder. All I did was print it, cut it out, and now I am Mod Podging it onto the jar. The last thing I did to complete my spooky bone powder jar was add a battery-operated tea light on the inside. To continue on with our Gothic themed DIYs, we have this skeleton specimen jar. Here's everything that you'll need to complete this super spooky project. First, I am taking 3 skeleton skulls and adding some brown paint to dirty them up. These skulls looked way too new for my liking, and I want my specimen jar to look like it has been sitting there for years, possibly even centuries. So if you have a power tool, this step will be extremely easy. But if you don't, like me, it'll be a tiny bit more difficult. Basically what we're trying to do is make a hole in the base of the clock dome so that our battery-operated lights can come through. Since I don't have a power tool, I'm just using a screwdriver and a screw to manually make that hole in the base. And after I've made that hole with the screw and the screwdriver, I'm just threading through the lights to make sure they fit. Depending on what size lights you have, you might have to make the hole a little bit larger. Now I'm taking some black paint and painting the entire base of the clock dome. After the base and the skulls have all dried, you can take your skulls and arrange them however you want on top of the base. I decided to do mine kind of like in a totem pole, so I'm taking some hot glue, adding it to the skull, and sticking it down. Now remember, I want my skull specimen jar to look like it's been hanging around in some apothecary for centuries. So it's definitely going to have some mold and maybe some things growing on it. So I'm taking some hot glue and some Spanish moss and putting that around the skulls. After I've placed all my skulls on top of one another and added all the Spanish moss that I wanted, I am threading through those battery-operated lights and circling them around the skulls a little haphazardly to create a disheveled look around them. So everything seemed to be going perfectly, but it wouldn't be a Halloween DIY without a few ghosts messing up the process. So actually the 3 skulls was too tall and I couldn't get the top of the high clock dome to fit snugly and lock. So unfortunately we had to have a little surgery and decapitate one of the skulls. So you can see in this next clip I am back down to only 2 skulls. And now that I'm down a skull, I definitely don't want anyone to be touching my skeleton specimen and causing me to possibly lose another one. So I'm adding this creepy do not touch apothecary label, and I will link that below in the description box as well. I took this plastic spider ring that I got for free in one of those cobweb packages, and I added it to the top of the second skull because he was feeling a little sad that he lost his buddy, so he needed a friend, and then I added some more moss on top. And that's all it takes to make your skull specimen jar. If you guys end up doing this DIY, please comment below on how you styled it. And my last DIY for this video is this super cute galvanized interchangeable ghost sign. I think the coolest thing about this DIY is that the bow is attached with velcro, so you can remove it and add a different bow, and the little ghost guys can be removed. They're only on there from the little clips, and it can be replaced with Christmas trees, bunnies, literally any ornament for every season. Here's the supplies you'll need to make this DIY. The first step in this DIY is actually one that I couldn't get on film. What I did was took a piece of sandpaper and sanded off all the glitter on the beware sign. There ended up being way more glitter than I thought, so I took it outside so I wouldn't have glitter all over my house. Then I took some paint and did 2 coats of white paint over the top. Then I took these ghost ornaments. You can use any kind you want, pumpkins, little fall leaves, and I painted the ghosts white, and then I went in with some brown paint and just contoured where their eyes and their mouths were and along the edges, so they were a little bit easier to see and looked a little bit more spooky. After my ghosts have dried, I am now clipping them into the galvanized frames. You don't have to have the exact frames, really any frames will do. Even if they don't have a clip, you can buy the clip and hot glue it on. You just need something that will hold up your ghost. To make sure the galvanized frames lay flat on the beware sign that we painted, we are peeling off, I don't even know what you call this, I guess the frame stand, and then I'm using a flathead screwdriver to take off the hardware. Then I placed the 3 galvanized frames with my ghosts onto our painted beware sign. You could measure this to make sure it was more precise, but I just kind of eyeballed it and where I wanted the frames to go, and then I hot glued them down. I would also suggest adding a couple little drops of E6000 glue. When I held up the beware sign, one of the galvanized frames fell off, so I ended up adding a little bit of E6000 glue to the middle frame. To embellish the frame, I made a fun bow. You can make any kind of bow of your choosing. I chose this black one with orange gingham, and then I added some pipe cleaners that I spun around a pen to make some wacky looking, I don't know, shapes that I wanted to add on to my bow. Now I am taking some adhesive Velcro pieces and adding that onto the beware sign and onto the bow. So the entire goal for this project was that I can change it out for every single season. So I wanted to make something where I could easily remove the bow and add on, you know, a festive red one for Christmas and change out the ghost for little Christmas trees. You can change it with hearts and a pink bow for Valentine's Day, bunnies for Easter, etc., etc. So I'm adding on this with a little bit of hot glue. I'm sure that it could have stayed on fine with just the adhesive, but since I'm going to be using this for a long time, I wanted to make sure it was extra secure with some hot glue. And you can see right here, the bow is easily removable with that Velcro piece. And that completes this super cute galvanized interchangeable ghost sign. Comment below what other holidays or seasons you plan to use this sign for. Whether it was the friendly ghost sign, the decaying skull specimen, or the spooky bone powder dust jar, I hope you all enjoyed these fun and easy Halloween DIYs. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.